I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Gregory Brew, senior analyst with Eurasia Group. Gregory, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks a lot, Brittany.
I want to talk about some breaking news surrounding the ceasefire and hostage release agreement between Israel and Hamas. The Israeli Security Cabinet voted to approve the ceasefire and hostage release deal with Hamas on Friday, and this comes 2 days after the news of the deal being reached broke, and 1 day after it looked like it hung in the balance, and Netanyahu's office accused Hamas of, quote, reneging on the understanding and creating a last-minute crisis that is preventing an agreement. So can you please, to start off the conversation, talk about what has happened and transpired over the past 48 hours as it relates to this agreement?
Well, it's been very interesting, Brittany. What we've seen is kind of a dance, primarily from the Israelis and primarily from led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, to balance the requirements of the deal with the requirements of Israel's domestic political scene. And let me break that down. So Netanyahu faces a significant challenge. On the one hand, there's a lot of public pressure to reach a deal with Hamas that releases the hostages. There's also pressure from the U.S., coming both from the outgoing Biden administration and the incoming Trump administration, to reach this deal. And by all accounts, by all appearances, Netanyahu has buckled to that pressure and has made a number of significant concessions. So a deal has come together, a deal has been signed, and the hostages are going to be released starting on Sunday. That's how it all looks right now. At the same time, Netanyahu is under pressure from elements of his own government, the far-right elements of his government and those within Israel's political scene who view this deal as essentially a stab in the back. They refuse to support it. They see it as a surrender. Netanyahu is agreeing to this deal while also promising on the side that it won't lead to a permanent end of the war, that the war will continue at some point, potentially after the first phase of the deal. So that's sort of what's been happening over the last 48 hours. A deal has been coming together while at the same time, Prime Minister Netanyahu has been working to keep his coalition in place.
And wouldn't the hostages being released politically, does that benefit Netanyahu? I mean, where is he right now in the political landscape in Israel?
So Netanyahu is probably in a fairly strong position right now. He's managed to weather the storm that has faced him since the October 7th attack of 2023. He isn't facing the imminent collapse of his coalition. He's obviously, as I mentioned, getting a lot of pushback from far-right elements. Two ministers, Minister Ben-Gvir and Minister Smotrich, sort of represent the far-right. Ben-Gvir has threatened to leave the government. Smotrich has made similar threats but appears to be staying put. If Netanyahu loses the support of these two ministers, his government may very well fall apart. There would have to be new elections. The thing is, though, is that Netanyahu is polling fairly well. If there were elections inside Israel, there's a decent chance that he would emerge victorious. That's giving his position a bit of extra weight. At the same time, as I mentioned, he's making these promises behind the scenes, saying that this won't be a permanent ceasefire, that Hamas will be destroyed at some point. And he's making that promise also with the implicit idea that Trump will support a return to hostilities whenever Trump becomes president. So I think it's likely that he'll keep his government in place. At the same time, he'll be able to deliver a win through a hostage deal. As I mentioned, there's a lot of public pressure. The Israeli public wants a deal to get the hostages out. The polls overwhelmingly support that. So Netanyahu is, I think, trying to have it both ways. He's trying to keep his government together while also delivering a deal. And it looks like he is going to be able to do that.
And all indications look like the deal will go through.